it's hard to believe that this is Manhattan and it's 2025 and it looks like a war zone out here.
And I utterly condemn the violence that we've seen overnight in Ballymena and in other parts of Northern Ireland.
114 people injured, 37 hotels reduced to smouldering shells, more than 1 lakh protesters flooding the streets of Northern Ireland. For 3 nights straight, the Union Jack hasn't shone under streetlights. It's burned against the sky, 8:42 p.m. 5 November 2025. Belfast city centre. Sirens slice through the rain. Shop fronts buckle, bottles spin like sparks above the crowd. What started as a march demanding answers has spiralled into Britain's most explosive civil disorder in over a decade. And the flashpoints, the migrant hotels seen by the public as monuments to a government that turned care into a contract line item. Footage shows police shields forming a hard wall outside the High Street Hotel Belfast, once home to 230 asylum seekers, now swallowed by orange flames. Fire crews report 19 separate arsons in one day, Derry, Lisburn, Ballymena. Each place now a headline. You promised protection, a man screams through the haze. All you gave us was silence. Across the UK, more than 1 LAC people marched through the streets. Belfast, London, Derry, Antrim, even Newcastle in County Down, all echoing one question. Where is Westminster? The government still hasn't replied. Behind the doors of the Commons, the lights glow late, but the statements arrive slow. The Home Secretary calls the chaos contained unrest. The opposition brands it collapse. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to speak at dawn, but for millions glued to their screens tonight, dawn feels less like a solution and more like an excuse. Sky News presenters recite casualty numbers like they're marking time on 114 injured. 27 officers sent to hospital, 37 hotels wrecked, $68 million in losses. Analysts warn that if the riots spill toward the ports, routes to Liverpool and Glasgow could grind to a halt within 48 hours. 9 p.m. a leaked memo appears online. Northern Command at capacity, reserve units required, awaiting authorization. That authorization never comes. On the far edge of the crowd, a young nurse, Sophie Mallister, streams the chaos on her phone. "This is my street," she whispers. "My rent jumped 41% this year. They said there's no money left, but somehow there's money for all this." Her clip racks up 3.2 million views in 6 hours. If you're watching this now, you've seen the footage too. What's on your screen isn't just outrage, it's exhaustion. 10:27p. Mum, the first wave slams into the barricades outside Parliament. They collapse, police deploy tear gas. The first time since 2013, reporters described the sound as a heartbeat made of panic. Downing Street releases a 3-sentence statement. The PM condemns the violence. Public safety is key. Dialogue must continue, but dialogue ended when the first hotel fell. Inside, intelligence briefings paint a darker picture. M15 lists 52 online channels coordinating real-time movement encrypted, agile, untraceable, police drones jammed twice. Cell towers torched in Coleraine. A line from the Cabinet Office reads simply, "Containment impossible, public sentiment unstable." 11 p.m. energy traders report irregularities. Oil depots near Belfast and Larne face attempted blockades. By midnight, fuel distribution has dropped 19%. Hospitals switch to backup power and still Westminster sleeps. Online one phrase drowns out everything. Number Britain on fire within 12 hours. It hit 64 million impressions, overtaking the last general election. Clips of riot officers kneeling before crowds go viral. We serve the people, not the politicians. By sunrise, the question isn't who lit the match, but who stands to gain from the smoke. At the morning briefing, a senior advisor warns, if we label it terrorism, we criminalize half the country. If we don't, we lose the other half. The Prime Minister says nothing. Sources report he sits pale and quiet, eyes locked on the Belfast flames flickering across a monitor. Meanwhile, consumer confidence sinks 8%, retail markets shed 1.2 billion, flight bookings from Belfast to Dublin surge 46%. When people flee their own country for a weekend of quiet, that's not data, that's diagnosis. In Lisbon, thousands gather before the gutted King's Crown Hotel, once housing 112 asylum seekers, funded at $989 per person per night, worth $7-8 million a year. Now, it's nothing but char. An elderly veteran, Thomas Reed, walks past the ruins with a flag on his shoulder. "I fought for this place," he says softly. "I don't recognize it anymore." The clip airs on every network by evening. Commentators call it the moment Britain faced its reflection. Across the UK, screens glow in silence. Maybe yours is one of them. If you are watching, tap like, not for the algorithm, but because stories only travel when people push them forward. 11:55 a.m., 6 November, Westminster. The PM steps to the podium. A sheet titled National Stability Address in hand. "My government condemns the violence and reaffirms our commitment to unity." No mention of the hotel contracts, no mention of M15 warnings, just the slow drip of political sedatives, reporters shout. Will you suspend the asylum hotel scheme? Will you visit Belfast? He walks away. The broadcast ends, but the noise outside only grows louder. By night, the numbers don't feel real anymore. 142 injured, 53 arrests, 91 million in damage, AR&E wards overflowing. Police morale down 29%, public trust at 22%, the lowest ever recorded. Foreign outlets brand it the Starmer collapse. A Brussels diplomat adds off record. Britain once exported stability, now it exports disorder. Midnight returns to Belfast. Rain falls over charred roads. Locals sweep glass into buckets. Someone hangs a sign over a burned doorway. Home once, hope again. The camera pulls back. No soundtrack, just a wounded city trying to breathe. From Ballymena to Belfast, Lisbon to Londonderry. The message is identical: a government out of touch, a country out of patience, a public tired of silence. So Britain, what happens now? Is this a riot or a reckoning? Tell us in the comments. Your voice is the last thing still uncensored. And if truth still matters to you, subscribe and hit the bell. Because silence wins only when good people stop paying attention. Yet beneath the smoke and shattered glass, something else survives, something Britain has always carried through its darkest hours. In the back streets of Belfast, strangers who confronted each other hours earlier now pass blankets through broken windows. A young migrant woman, shaking from the fire, helps an elderly man lift his fallen signboard. No cameras, no slogans. Just people doing what the government forgot how to do. Care. Inside a small church near Donegall Square, volunteers light candles for the injured Catholic, Protestant, local, migrant, each flame stubborn, equal. Despite everything, the city remembers how to hold itself together when no one else will. A teacher named Aileen writes on the wall of a charred hotel, "Forgiveness rebuilds what fury burns." Within hours, her message spreads wider than any riot clip, because deep down, people know what really matters. Not who we blame, but who we choose to become next. Britain is a nation shaped by rebuilding rubble to rooftops, war to welfare, silence to song. Maybe tonight's inferno isn't the end, but the beginning of a question we've avoided for too long. How much anger does it take to remember empathy? The flames will fade, the buildings will rise again, but the message written in Belfast smoke will remain. Strength isn't domination. It's compassion that outlives the chaos. This is Brit Alert News. If you stand for truth, stay with us, because Britain hasn't closed this chapter, it's just opened it.